Live from the Vital Spaces podcast studio in Santa Fe, it's 505OMATIC Friday. We're gathered once again to bring you your weekly news roundup. At the table today, we have our producer, J. Alex the Technologist.
What up?
Fresh off of yesterday's Let's Talk New Mexico on KUNM Radio. I'm your friendly neighborhood non-binary reporter, Julian, and as always, we're welcoming back our host. They're here and they're ready to talk news. Take it away, Shark.
Yeah, so today we are going to be talking about some big stories, a quick update on the fire, some updates about ICE, and we're going to be covering some of last night's living room, as well as talking about some energy stuff in New Mexico that I think relates to the current issues in our world. So I would love to start with a little discussion of the fire. How's the air quality been for you? I know we were talking about that some last week.
The air quality has not been overall as bad as it was a week or two ago, but it's still something of a concern. There's been less physical smoke rolling in, but as always, we've got to keep our eye out for asthmatics, for our kids, like for our elderly, and really anyone with lungs. So remember, like the smoke,
If you know anyone with lungs.
anyone with lungs, that breathes, above the water, especially.
Yeah.
We really got to keep an eye out for each other and keep in mind that, like, when we do have that smoke in the air, it does make us more irritable. It can anyway. And it makes it a little harder just to be. So having that grace for everybody is good, but also keeping that 5-3-1 rule. Like, if you can see the mountains, you're probably fine. If you can't, you probably need to be a little cautious. And if you can't see all the way down the street, maybe don't play outside. But they have kept it contained, I think, for at least 3 days now.
Yeah, there was an article last night on KOAT that said the fire is 60% contained about now, which I think is trending in the right direction.
Yeah, like not expanding was the big deal like 2 weeks ago, and then having it not move was a big deal starting like last weekend. And yeah, they're finally hopefully getting it, well, contained is better than out of control, obviously, but 60% down is a lot better.
Yeah, I'm always curious. I don't actually know how I've always see that number, but I don't know how they come up with like 60% contained.
And is it 60% contained from at its biggest point, or is it 60% contained from so I'm not exactly sure either, but I do know that like we haven't had a day where there's been no visibility and where it hasn't been safe at all. I haven't gotten that air quality text in several days.
Yeah, which has been really awesome and really like life-saving and mental health saving for me, getting outside with my dogs and being able to wander around.
I was about to say, like, dogs are getting affected by this too,
Yeah.
and also walkable other animals, because it's hard to go play in the park if people are coughing and hacking the entire time.
I know, and I have an 85-pound pit bull with allergies, so if she gets outside in the smoke, she turns into a little baby. So I'm very glad that it's.
So all of our viewers need to know, what is your dog's name?
I have two dogs, Luna and Fig, a big pit bull and a tiny blue heeler. And they are very cute.
Those are some pretty great names, I have to say.
And the little heeler's an absolute tank, and the pit bull is just one of the most princess dogs in the whole world.
I was about to say, sounds like a sweetheart.
Yep, doesn't sleep on the floor, only on the Tempur-Pedic. Yep, that's her. So fire 60% contained is really good. Shout out to all the firefighters. We have a few that I've come around with in various spaces and been talking with who have been working like very intense hours recently. So I wanted to give them a little thank you. So
and it's locals and people coming in, I think, from the surrounding states in California, if I recall.
Yeah.
So yeah, thank you especially to like our locals, but also those who know that this area is special and we gotta keep it as protected as possible.
Yeah. The other thing I wanted to jump into real quick, just as an update, is some of the things around ICE. We talked about that for a while last week. I think now you were seeing articles about it kind of everywhere. There's been some in Code and Source New Mexico and a bunch of different places. We've done some work on it at 505, which is my favorite of all the work we've done because I love Allegra and love hearing her talk. I feel like that was such a great interview. And I think that one of the threads that I really saw that we were discussing last week is there's so many of our public officials decrying ICE, but I've yet to hear like a super clear government plan emerge in all this.
And I want to say a plan that you made me aware of, or a thing that can be done, is that our governor and or our mayors can say that you're not allowed to do anything on city property or federal property if it's the
Yeah.
governor, and that has not happened yet.
Yeah. So,
Because they can decide that you are trespassing if you are an ICE agent doing ICE business on state property,
yep.
but no one has taken that step yet.
Nope. So, invitation to push the mayor, to push the sheriffs and the chiefs of police in your town, push the governor, write letters, send calls, do all the things you can. If you have that ability to try to shift this issue some. So, get the word out to people.
And I know there was a town hall or like a meeting with the mayor
At Indivisible.
and Indivisible this past Monday, I think it was.
Yeah.
I wonder how that went.
Yeah, I wasn't able to make that one, but it was with the mayor and Yvonne, and I, who runs the city immigration task force, although it's now a full committee. And from what I heard, it seemed like a positive meeting. A lot of people expressed good feelings about it. I am a little cynical at times, so a little trepidation, but I think Yvonne is taking this all very seriously, and the kind of Santa Fe Immigration Committee is really doing some good work and really working to connect with the community. And I think you see that through like meeting with Indivisible, meeting with all these other projects. So
And tell us a little bit more on who Yvonne is specifically.
so Yvonne is the chair of the Santa Fe Immigration Committee. Yep, and does a lot of work there, and I don't have much of a personal relationship with him, but people who I do really trust tend to really trust him.
Excellent.
So I feel like that is a very good space.
And you mentioned Allegra a moment ago. Did you mean Allegra Love, the lawyer?
I did mean Allegra Love, the lawyer, from the interview on 505 that you should go watch. I love that one.
Katie's interview?
Katie's interview, yes. And Allegra's a wonderful immigration lawyer here in town, does a lot of great work, is such a huge resource for Santa Fe, as one of those like first line people to address this fascist creep of ICE and other organizations like that. Incredibly knowledgeable, incredibly hardworking, has started a project called LARED recently, which is safety planning for immigrants. We talked about that a little last week, but great project to support.
And I saw that there's some rapid response trainings that are popping up in other groups. Some are just specific to group members, but there are, I think Santa Fe Rapid Response is a group you can contact if you're interested in more direct action. Is that correct?
Yeah, Santa Fe Rapid Response is a group you can contact. They're a great group of local organizers. They also work very closely with the Immigration Committee, and they are sort of coming together to try to put together trainings, because anytime you are interacting with an ICE officer, you should really have some training and preparation for that,
Yeah,
because it's a high stress, as we've seen, really dangerous situation.
very much so.
So kind of the bottleneck for them sometimes is doing the trainings to get the people. That sort of like train the trainer thing can be difficult, and they're really kicking that into gear now with everything that's happened. So
That makes a
that's
lot of
awesome.
sense. And that also makes sense why from what I've seen, there's frequently like small group training so that you can actually address like people's questions and stuff that's specific to the people who are getting the training, because as we've seen across the country, not just in New Mexico, depending on how you look and how you're dressed, you are treated differently by officers.
Yeah.
And so different people are going to have different concerns because we are not treated as like citizens or just, people in this country. We're treated very much by however the individual officers like their personal feelings, and they have not seemed to have had as much training.
Yeah. And honestly, I think this is so against my like anarchisty crust punk roots. But I think this is such a great time for like the tactics that you saw employed so well by like the civil rights movement of being like well dressed, well spoken, very careful in how you show up, because I think these are groups of people like ICE officers in the current federal government who are like very aware of like respectability and whiteness and all these other things. And being well trained helps you do that and helps you show up in ways that are likely to keep you safe, because they do care about that perception and the perception of who they're persecuting.
Yeah. We've seen I've seen reports even on like the folks who aren't, culturally Caucasian that'll join because they want like that additional status um, of that. Oh, excellent. And something that is kind of only tangentially related is like across the boards, there really has been a call I've seen for like homogeneity, like for people just be more normal, just be more mm, like just fit in with everyone else. Like don't be interesting. I'm seeing that definitely in the GLBTQ plus scene. There's some people that have did a couple of articles last month about why can't we just be gay? Uh, and the thing is you mentioned something called the fascist creep, and this is part of that. It does relate to ICE. The fact that there are movements on multiple fronts to get people to just be quieter and to fit in more and to be more of the quote unquote aspirational ideal of this homogeneous easy to control population is antithetical to what most of us want to do, whether it's art or activism. So we really do need to pay attention to those little things, the quote unquote fascist creep. Like if there hadn't been a lot of people who weren't okay with the tiny steps that ICE was making, they wouldn't be making these giant steps now. If we weren't questioning it, or if it wasn't easier to just say, oh, it's easier if I just fit in, it's easier if I just, then it'd be fine. But when we're doing things like our rapid response training, when we are showing up, it is important to play the role, to be
Yeah.
the safest possible, to protect those that are less, you know, than less franchised, people who are more disenfranchised than us. I went all over the place with, but I think you knew what I meant there.
Totally. I think that's a really important like distinction to draw on. When I talk about respectability as a tactic and like the civil rights movement, remembering that it's always a tactic, not a lifestyle.
Yep.
And it's a really effective tactic. You saw it employed by people like Dr. King. You saw my favorite example of it is a moment from history called the Rosenstrasse protests, which, excuse a little historical tangent.
No, yeah, please go on the tangent. Go on the tangent,
Yeah.
Shark.
There's this moment in Berlin, and I think 43, when the last Jews in Berlin are being deported by Hitler and the Nazis. And it's the last ones in like literally the last Jewish folks in Berlin. And they're the last ones because they're the husbands of often wealthy, well-connected Aryan women. And so they get loaded up on the train car and taken to a warehouse. And these women just say no. They stand in front of the train tracks and they do not let their husbands get deported. And Joseph Goebbels contemplates turning the machine guns on the crowd. But he doesn't because he can't gun down 1,000 Aryan women in the heart of Berlin. That's like not something that was even on the Nazis' radar to do in 43. Like the death camps are in full motion. The war is kicking into gear. Like everything's happening. And so these Jews, they let them out of the train car and they just get to walk home. And the last Jews in Berlin were saved by this like respectable seeming group standing in the way. I love these women. I hate these women because they could have done it at any time.
Yeah, they didn't stand up until they came for their husbands.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so when I'm talking about like respectability politics, it is a tactic. It is a tactic you should use if you have it, because if you have it, it's because someone else doesn't. And the sooner you can start using that as like well-educated, well-dressed white people, the better that will turn out, or well-educated, well-dressed anybody. But like you're saying, don't confuse a tactic for a lifestyle choice. Yeah. I mean, and I think you see, I always go back to the civil rights movement, and you can look at someone like Kwame Ture, who is both like a well-dressed, well-spoken, very respectable, very palatable guy when he needs to be, and like the most radical man in America, and can speak both those languages well, which I think is a place we need to operate now as a people.
Yeah, agreed. And it's funny, even like with my personal style, I tend to prefer a collar when I'm doing reporting, and that's not 505-OMATIC thing. That's just the way that my aesthetic coming up was like masculine of center folks when they're being serious, like a little collar, like to have a little collar.
Yeah.
And again, I love my logo. This is a modification of the Cheeks, which used to be a wonderful club in town. Yeah, R.I.P. Cheeks. But that it does make a difference when I'm in this versus just my fishnets if I'm meeting people face to face. It turns out on the videos that I did, people didn't care when I had the fishnets and the vest at all, but it seems to make a difference, at least with face to face stuff. And sometimes maybe it's even just my comfort, being a person of pushing 5 decades who has been in this environment for so long. So yeah, nobody is asking anyone to not be punk. No one is asking them not to make their hair interesting, but we are saying those of us who can stand up should when we can.
Yeah. And I think that's what like training is great for, is like, what are the ways that you can show up to be safe in this context? So yeah, shout out to that with Rapid Response, Santa Fe Rapid Response, and getting out there to have those trainings before you interact with ICE agents, if you can, is like a really great step to take. So if that is something that interests you, hitting up Santa Fe Rapid Response and trying to connect with them and get the training you need to be safe out there.
Yeah, and I'm gonna mention one other thing that is a little bit related. We talked about this a lot last week. We're talking about like showing up for the job you want. If you want to, go help Burrito Brigade feed folks, wear closed-toed shoes if you're gonna be cooking. It's not just about other people's, for other people, but also keeping yourself, safe. Like have a hood if the sun's out. Bring an umbrella. And yeah, it's not just the rapid response is not the only way to be active. There's everything from, directly giving people who need money to helping make a burrito to, not letting somebody be a bully at the grocery store.
Yeah. I mean, solidarity is everything, and it starts at home. Like, be friends with your immigrant neighbors, be friends with your queer neighbors, be friends with your houseless neighbors, be friends with the people who the system comes for. And that actually is what's going to work better than almost anything. Like, we have all these big political tactics, but that like entrenched community roots and solidarity is one of the only things we've ever seen actually beat back the like fascist creep.
Yep. And rejecting that sort of are we allowed to say bullshit on the live stream?
Yeah.
Excellent.
Producer approved.
Yeah, just saying no to that sort of bullshit, in my opinion, is also very New Mexican.
Yeah.
It's pretty radical, to be here and to be in a multicultural place and to choose to, honor the people who were here before, honor what, where we're trying to go. Like small bits of radical behavior are important bits of radical behavior.
And I think that's a cool thing that can be sometimes like edited out of people's cultural conception of Santa Fe in certain spaces, but like we're a really diverse city in so many ways. Whether that's gender and sexuality, whether that's race and ethnic background, whether that's socioeconomic class. And for such a like small relatively city, we have this incredible diversity, and I think it is like a very New Mexican thing and aspiration for that to work and to hold that well. And I think trying to figure out how to do that is one of the most like locally engaged things we could do.
It's part of our mythology that I really enjoy. It's like there's a reason that there's 2 Broadway musicals I can think of that there's literal songs that are just about one of the characters in the musical being like, if I could just go to Santa Fe, that would be amazing. And I'm talking about Rent and Newsies. And Newsies is
Santa Fe's mentioned in Rent?
It is. There's a whole song about if I could just go to Santa Fe, then we could be happy, and I could be a musician, and for the actual movie they came and filmed part of it here, so there you can see it off the plaza in the movie, but it's in the musical. And then in Newsies, which is one of my favorite Union movies, and also musicals, same thing. The guys are talking about like Santa Fe. That's where it's going to be. And it's because it is that different. And it, like I said, some of my favorite mythology because there's fact to the mythology.
It's Batman who sings that song, right? I can't remember the name of the actor. The one that goes on-
Christian Bale.
Christian Bale.
Wow. Yeah, actually, it was in the movie. And the Broadway show has more extended songs and stuff, but that's kind of neither here nor there, except it isn't, because like Santa Fe is special. And I can't actually remember. Yeah, you also moved here, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I choose to be here as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's like a cool melting pot history thing that I think we often forget in our like conception of the Old West, like places. One, Pueblo Revolt never ended. Like indigenous solidarity is so deeply important, and we live in a state shaped by indigeneity maybe more than any other. I mean, there's a lot, but New Mexico's very intense that way.
Yeah, like Oklahoma might could argue, maybe one other, but
Yeah.
it'd be a conversation, not a for sure one or the other.
Yeah, and I think the other part of that makes Santa Fe so progressive historically and so like interesting historically that way is like the Old West was a very it's where you went if you were from a marginalized population because codified social structure didn't support you. So if you were queer, if you were black, if you were Jewish, going to the Old West was like something you did to escape the like codified and oppressive social structure as best you could.
And even they're finding neurodivergent folks.
Yeah.
Like there were a lot of folks on the autism spectrum, et cetera, who excelled at rural jobs.
Yeah.
Everything from shepherding to ranching. In addition to the fact that like you could have a different type of job in a place like the old, the wild old west than you could in a big city where maybe you could just do a factory. And the fact that we've been here for 300 years, so we had an established
Yeah.
population of not just Europeans, but of everyone for longer than I believe anywhere else in the continental United States, from my understanding.
Yeah.
And I might not be, or well, continental, I meant North America,
Yeah.
but there might be someplace up in Canada, but I'm not sure.
Yeah. And I think that's like such a legacy to embrace and is such a cool thing and is like a methodology and a cultural myth for combating this like fascist creep is that like the Old West is kind of it was part of that with like American frontierism, but also it was so many people trying to escape the oppressive culture of their day and embracing that while distancing yourself from the like frontier shit is something we can do and something we can really like lean into as a culture and like have that be as integral to Santa Fe as turquoise polo ties.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah, let's
Absolutely.
take the cool part.
Absolutely agreed. And this is not on our notes, but this is the first year in decades that we're not going to have a melodrama in Santa Fe, at least not an official one. That's one of our older traditions where it's getting to speak truth to power through theater, and that's something that we've done. I think it's over 100 or 200-year-old tradition, and it's the first time. We got to see it last year with some friends, and it really is basically holding a ridiculous mirror up to the current politics and addressing it. So I'm a little heartbroken to not see the official one this year, but I know that the theater, Santa Fe, I don't think it's Santa Fe Little Theater. My Albuquerque roots are messing with me. But the Santa Fe Theater that usually runs it is not canceling it forever. They are choosing to not do one this year for valid reasons that involve money, etc. But we need to make sure that we're speaking truth to power, that we've got our folk singers singing things like "All You Fascists Gotta Lose," and also being a little bit more specific, like to our local stuff.
Even if we don't have a melodrama, you can make fun of any politician you
And
want
you should.
yourself. Go out there and do it.
And you should. And also, like, go meet them if you have the opportunity. Like, make an appointment and let them know, hey, I wrote a song about you.
Yeah, you can schedule appointments with all of your local electeds on the city website, which is something a lot of people don't know, but is very like interesting and unique for a capital city that you can just be like, I'd love to sit down with the mayor this week. What's his free
Yeah,
time?
and it's refreshing
Nice.
to be able to contact your city officials. This is one of our 505OMATIC koozies, keeping my water nice and cold.
God, that's a professional. Look at the prop work.
Starting to become available in our merch store
Yeah.
on 505omatic.com.
Otherwise, come and find us at any of our events.
But I think right now it's just the shirts for sale. We've got to get some more products up there. But come find us in person.
Delicious, not blue sky soda.
So, just as a wrap up, some great ways to get involved with this is La Red, if you're a Spanish speaker or have funds you want to hand out, volunteering with them to help immigrants safety plan here in our community is really great.
And will you spell that?
LA space RED. Good
Fantastic.
call. Good call. The other one is Santa Fe Rapid Response. They do a lot of wonderful trainings. They try to get people engaged that way. The City Immigration Committee does wonderful work. And Earth Care is another organization I want to shout out for a moment. Those guys do really great work internally organizing some of our immigrant communities here and providing a great scaffold. And they've been really participating in some of the stuff on a broad scale. So those are some places that you can get involved if you have the time and space too.
And if you're not in Santa Fe, you've got a lot of other options. We know Albuquerque has a rapid response.
Yeah.
We were just part of a People's Assembly. 505OMATIC was, Alex and I got to go down. And there are likely folks who also care about the stuff you care about that you can find who would love to meet you.
Yeah. And
Yeah, even if you're in Espanola, even if you're in Las Vegas.
And if you're having trouble finding stuff, I recommend if you have like a local DSA or a PSL chapter or a city immigration community, send them an email. And that's a way you can like find these resources if you're struggling to find them.
So your local DSA, is that your Democratic Socialists of
Democratic
America?
Socialists of America, and
Excellent.
PSL is Party for Socialism and Liberation. Both of them are left parties where their organizers will be, someone in their organization is probably going to be involved in a lot of these other places. And so whether they're involved as an organization or not, they'll probably have someone where they're like, hey man, don't you do that thing? And the person will be like, yeah, give them my email or something like that. So reaching out to those spaces if you're curious how to get involved in your town is, I think, one of the better ways, easier ways to do it.
Excellent.
So moving on from ICE, love to take a minute to chat about the living room and get an update on what happened at our 505OMATIC living room last night at the Jean Cocteau.
And what the living room is a monthly event that what we do live for the community to get together and talk. I got to host last month. We did a whole show in coordination with the Santa Fe Opera, and lots of times we're doing a lot more directly political things. And it was the first one I ever missed.
Nice.
J. Alex, I know that you were there, and we were talking about land.
Yeah, so last night we had some really great discussions of, and all of the guest names have suddenly jumped out of my head. But we had really great discussions about the rescinding of the roadless rule, for example. That's something that is protections on federal lands that prevented roads from being constructed into those spaces, and so that those rules are being rescinded, which is going to allow more roads to be constructed,
More trucks,
trucks that may have chains that have dropped and that are creating sparks on the roadway. That's also going to allow for more mining to happen in a lot of these areas because it's allowed to happen within like certain mileage of roads. And just also how like these different departments for like the Forest Service have been, because of Doge cuts, a lot of people who were let go and a lot of institutional knowledge that is being lost, and how you don't have people that are able to read like the 600,000 comments that came in about about Chaco Canyon mining, for example. There used to be teams of people whose job it was to go through every comment as a human and categorize things and assign points to a lot of those things. And those people don't exist anymore. And so they're relying on good old fashioned or new fashioned, I guess, AI to do a lot of sorting of these things. And one of the other important points that was noted is that if ever you are submitting public comment and if you're taking a form letter, it's important that you personalize that form letter some, because the way that the department treats a form letter is that if one form letter comes in and there's a bunch of different signatures that are using the same language, it's just counted as one signature.
Okay.
So it's very important for you to put some of your own personal spin on things. And it wasn't all doom and gloom. It wasn't all just like everything is terrible. There was one representative from like the Upper Pecos Watershed Association, and that has been a really fantastic project
And
over the last 20 years.
let me pause you for just a second. One of our listeners is saying they're having a little trouble hearing you. So while you look at that, let me reiterate. And when you're filling out form letters, or if you're interested in a subject and there's already established way for you to contact your, administration, don't just sign it, because they're going to count it as one. They're not going to count it as 30. So if you can change it a little bit, if you can say, hey, I love this river, or I love this road, and then you can still use the same language in the body of your letter, but if you don't put something personal, I believe usually at the front is the where they want to see it the most. It's not going to count as separate. And I don't think that that's fair, but I also understand some of the admin stuff is hard and it's not decisions that are being made maliciously.
Yeah.
And something else J. Alex was pointing out is that opening up roads in some of the BLM lands and some of our other public lands isn't just that there's going to be cars. It means that there's potentially mining. It means that there's potentially the land being torn up beyond just like potential paving or what have you, but like literally, trucks and other large vehicles completely changing the landscape with what it's with its actual just existence. And I know I personally really enjoy going up into BLM lands, but there's a big difference between taking my little vehicle, sticking to the trails, and picking up everything when I leave, than if we're gonna go in there and mine.
Yeah, and I mean, even if there's no commitment to do that stuff, when you open up infrastructure to do those things, it doesn't take long for something like mining or logging or fracking to start happening because the profit motive is really intense. Like, these are industries that make a ton of money. And if the option is there and someone goes to a local politician and is like, well, we could be making this much doing this, that's a hard argument. So it's easier to cut this off at the first step
Yeah.
than it is to do the full thing.
And those little steps definitely make a difference. I know that one of our reporters, Devin, was the host for last night, and I'd love to take it back to you, Jerome. You were starting to tell us a little bit more about the not just the doom and gloom parts of our living room last night.
Yeah, and maybe I fixed my microphone now.
I think we're
so
about to find out.
we're about to find out if you all can hear me. We're still in the testing phases of this live stream that we're doing, so thanks for giving some y'all's feedback on my technical.
Yeah, and thank you to our fans that are in touch.
Yeah,
Yeah,
thanks
thank you for letting us know.
So one of the positive things that we talked about was like a group called the Upper Pecos Watershed Association, who have for the last 20 years been doing a lot to restore the Pecos River by doing things like adding there's been a lot of like rocks and things that they need to pull out of quarries in order to properly route a lot of the water. They've done things like planting of willow trees so that it cools down the water. We also had I don't think Trout Unlimited was there, but they were talked about, and they've been working in collaboration with with UPLA as well. And just a lot of success that these organizations have been doing in collaboration with the local communities and being able to get federal grants for taking a lot of money to just do a lot of restoration of the area and working with a lot of local community groups. I mean, there's these people, they love where it is that they live, and they're trying to do as much as they can with the tools that they have available and through community collaboration to really make and affect some change. So that was something that's really positive. But check out the video. We should have it up this day next week if I can get that editing done.
Nice.
And check out next week's the living room.
And watershed restoration and things like that are such a fun thing to be involved with because I know I get busy and I'm like, I want to be out in nature, but it doesn't fit in my schedule. And so if I can volunteer with something like Santa Fe River cleanup or some watershed restoration stuff, it's like, oh, I have to go out and enjoy nature for 4 hours this Saturday, which is a way I cope with being overscheduled, is doing something like that where I have a commitment to others to take care of myself and go outside, touch a little grass, which I'm bad at.
Yeah, that's a good way to do it. And I want to reiterate what J. Alex said again. That's the Upper Pecos Watershed Association.
UPLA, for sure.
Yeah,
Good name.
And then also Trout Unlimited. They're not just about fish, but they are environmentalists that want us to interact directly with our fishing populations. And there's also Santa Fe River cleanup. And there's similar stuff probably in your neck of the woods as well. I know back in the South Valley, a church one time was cleaning up the fishing area at the Tigua Tequila Park.
Oh, nice.
So definitely keep that stuff in mind. And I want to thank everyone who not only attended the living room, but also everyone who'll take the time to watch it once we get it posted to our YouTube. We'll have that available because that information is pertinent. And again, when you are engaging in activism by writing your officials and you're using a form letter, please expand, add something personal to the beginning, and make sure that your thoughts get counted.
Yeah. This was a total tangent. I hate that we have to hear phrases now like Doge and now because of Doge we use AI to sort these letters. It's like I couldn't explain that sentence to my granddad, and I hate that I have to now. So the other thing I wanted to move on to and kind of spend a lot of time with today is the kind of Project Jupiter and public power and all these sorts of things that relate to kind of energy and power and things like that, like electrical power and things like that here in New Mexico. So sort of the place
grid.
I wanted, the grid, yes. And the place I wanted to start with that is Project Jupiter. Project Jupiter is this like massive AI data center.
But Shark, I've been hearing a lot of great commercials about how Project Jupiter is going to bring like long jobs and stuff and for content creators. What's that about?
Yeah, I have that pitch in the show notes for this episode as a link where I've changed the text of the link to hilarious website. And there's so much stuff that they have as like a part of their corporate propaganda, like we're going to create so many jobs, we're going to do all this other stuff. That is an argument that people make, but I think it's a really poor one. These like infrastructure projects never really pan out the number of jobs that they're promoting. They never really do things that they're promising. And that's because these are like profit-driven companies.
Yep.
And some of the most like vicious profit-driven companies that we have today. And it's not just a matter of dollars and cents in terms of like these jobs. Like I think they say they're going to create like 7,000 jobs or something. But one, we'll see if they do that. And two, the environmental impact can offset a lot of this. Like these are not value neutral things to have in your community. They're not just a building.
Yep.
They are massive consumers of water. I don't know if you've been to the Rio recently in southern New Mexico, but it's not really there.
Yeah, you shouldn't be able to walk across the Rio Grande, which means the Great River,
Yeah.
and not get wet.
Yeah. Yeah, famously Big River.
Yeah, it's
right in the name.
known. It's known
Yep.
for its riverness
So the Big Riverness.
to flow.
Yep. They also spike the power bills of people in their community by over 200%.
And blackouts and brownouts become a thing around these centers. And I know we're already dealing with that in like La Cienega, which is a very, that's not like a tiny little, camp. That's like housing that has been like established. And so like that, I mean, and that's even before we're being as pressed on the grid.
Yeah.
Yeah, please proceed.
And something like Project Jupiter would eat up not like a statistically irrelevant percent of the whole state's power. I mean, I think it was something over like 10% of the power of the entire state.
Wow. And
could
that's
go
just
to one thing.
one of the data centers that's being proposed.
Yeah.
Because I know we were already dealing with at least one like giant Facebook building a little further south than where we're at now.
Yeah. And it will go, the people who are largely going to be operating out of it are one, Oracle, and two, OpenAI. I don't know if you follow the decline of all media, but Oracle is a big part of that.
It is indeed, and I hate that they are co-opting really great words.
Yeah, yeah. And so as someone who works in media, as we all do, like I think Larry Ellison, the head of Oracle, and his son are a big part of why Barry Weiss, one of the worst reporters in America, now runs CNN. CBS, that's the one, yeah. And why 60 Minutes is now one of the like least credible.
And they're trying to buy Warner Brothers as well, which will be another consolidation of media even further.
Yep. And all in a way to push like right-wing propaganda and the kind of the Trump regime. And so Project Jupiter is tied in with ICE, is tied in with all these other things. And I think having it in our state to essentially like content farm and steal the work of people in our, I mean, probably some of ours. And I think that's like such a tough thing that's happening and that we need to stop. And the New Mexico Supreme Court has paused it for a minute because of the
Paused.
environmental impact.
Yeah, and this is a good thing, but it is a pause. We are not done with this conversation. Am I right?
Yeah, no,
Okay.
totally. It is temporarily halted because of the air quality permit not working out. But this is not saying it's not going to happen. And I think not lulling ourselves into this false sense of security that like, oh, it's been repealed, someone's on it, yada, yada. And I think really as a community speaking out against something that could, one, ruin the media landscape locally and nationally. To
Contribute to the ruining of it.
contribute to the ruining of it. Yeah. To pollute our air and water. And three, like profoundly impact our local politics. Like we are bringing in these incredibly powerful, incredibly fascistic companies that will have an impact on how we run our local affairs if they get that kind of foothold. So actually speaking out around Project Jupiter, I think is a really important thing that we should do if we have space as individuals and as communities.
Yeah, because it's all kind of related and it's all kind of part of that creep. And this is only tangentially related, but I know that New Mexico is one of the first, but the what do you call it? The weighing against the there have been some court decisions where Meta is going to owe states money to create programs to start helping the harm that they have caused our children. And this feels like it kind of directly relates because as 505, has continued to cover the, is it Amira? Am I saying that right? Amira and the other literal AI companies that are trying to use our children for not only free labor, but like labor that is going to wind up costing them. And so, yeah, if you're not following that, 505OMATIC really brought a lot of the noise to that story and is helping the fight to keep some of this AI out of our schools. Because like AI is not a monolith, but there is a difference between the water guzzling, data center situations that are being proposed and like letting your doctor help, take notes.
Yeah.
So I'm definitely not a Luddite who thinks all is bad, but a lot of it is.
Yeah, and I think that's the move these projects make a lot is they collapse like some of the purposes of AI with all of the purposes of AI. And there like are some things that it does that I'm not qualified to like say it's bad around. Things like it seems like it's pushing advances in the medical world. It seems like it's doing some other things like that.
And some of those advances are good and some of them are problematic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But on an individual level at this infrastructure, we encounter AI mostly as something that like produces pornography and writes essays at a 5th grade level. And
Or
that's what we're like basing the modern economy on in some ways.
Or makes insulting art. I'm still not over how incredibly, insultingly bad that Zozobra music video is.
Yeah, that was rough. That was really rough.
Dancers that are human have spines and stuff, and maybe they shouldn't spin around like possessed horror movie creatures. Anyway, I don't know if I fully could even finish it. It was no thank you.
Yeah. And so like letting it be the size of the economy that maybe it should be, whatever should means, and do these advancements in the realms that it works, but not building something multiple times the size of Central Park in southern New Mexico that consumes more water than
Let's
is
say
possible.
that multiple times the size of Central Park. Like we're not just, and they're not even campuses.
Yeah.
Like some big corporations when they set up, they really create campus environments where you're going to have a lot of people, a lot of multi-generational people. You're going to have food service. You're going to have all this stuff. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about giant buildings that are full of machines that drink more water than we do.
Yeah.
And I am way oversimplifying this.
Yeah.
I am not an expert, but like, yeah. So please continue to speak up against things like Project Jupiter. If you are against things like Project Jupiter, because the pause is just a pause. They're getting more info. They're getting more data. What businesses do you want in your state?
Yeah.
What businesses do you want here? Like, who do you want your children to be employed by in 20 years?
Yeah.
Because AI is obviously not taking away the mundane jobs.
Yeah.
They're just making it harder for people to have paying jobs.
Yeah. And whatever I personally can do to make life harder for Larry Ellison. In my own small way.
Yeah.
And this ties in with the second thing that I think is really important, which is Blackstone is trying to buy all of our public power.
All of it.
Which is really, really scary. If you don't know Blackstone, when you think of like an evil corporation from a cyberpunk novel, you're thinking of like Blackstone.
It's like, imagine if Hexus wasn't cool. Hexus from Fern Gully. Imagine if he wasn't cool.
Love a Fern Gully reference.
Yeah, I have to shout out Tim Curry and Dolly Parton at some point because they were love them.
Yeah, Dolly Parton would have hated.
Yeah, Dolly Parton would have been like,
Probably
why
did.
don't we just send kids books?
Yeah.
Why don't we stop making them talk to robots?
Yeah. If you're wondering about Blackstone, they are the largest corporate landlord in the world.
Largest corporate landlord in the world.
And it's not even close. They own properties everywhere and enforce really strict and punitive rental agreements and are part of the like price fixing of the rental economy that we're seeing now.
Sounds like imperialistic England almost.
Yeah. I mean, it's like the British East India Company modern.
We don't. Yeah. There's a whole bunch of movies about how terrible the East India Company was.
Yeah.
And they're silly, technically, movies, but they are right about how bad that company was.
I'm talking about Pirates.
I'm talking about Pirates of the Caribbean.
Oh, don't get me started.
The
Best
only
movie of the 2000s.
only villains in that movie is the East India Company people.
Oh, so
All the
good.
supernatural stuff makes sense.
Yeah. Team Barbosa. They are also a company that works in health insurance and participate in the AI-ification of health insurance. So if you have gotten a claim denied by your health insurance recently and had to call and spend 2 hours on the phone being like, no, I actually did have that happen. Blackstone probably contributed to that problem. They also have a long record of civil and legal infractions, some of them currently pending, some of them settled, some of them ruled against. So this is like a company that kind of spans internationally and does harm to people on every continent that people live, and is really looking to and is now coming to a theater near you and hoping to buy your public power.
The fact that you said coming to a theater near you really struck me because they call places where war is happening theater.
Yeah.
And so I just want to take a second because like this should hit heavy.
Yeah.
This should hit heavy because this stuff is heavy, and if we don't start breaking it apart, it's gonna get overwhelmingly heavy.
Yeah. And I mean, with that, when these huge corporations come in to buy up a public utility and a public resource, there's not always a lot people feel like they can do. It's a very sort of like abstract problem. But I think there is a lot we can do as individuals. I think one of the people I want to shout out in this is New Energy Economy.
New Energy Economy. They were at the People's Assembly.
Yeah.
They are actively part of the community.
Yeah, they are a wonderful organization that's very focused on this issue. And they make some suggestions about how we can interact with this as a state. This is something that I think relates to both of these stories, and I wanted to get into. I want to make sure we get in because we're a little short on time. New Mexico has the Sovereign Wealth Fund, which is not something I know if most people know. I didn't even know about it until fairly recently. It takes the money that we get from oil and gas, which is huge. It's a really substantial amount of money. And it saves it and invests it and redistributes the profits to the state. we have one of the top 30 sovereign wealth funds in the world. Like, we have one of the largest ones in the United States. We are an incredibly wealthy state, which is not something I think most people would think or know. It's 70 billion in state funds, and it like invests and tries to grow it. And then I think a large portion of it goes to things like schools and renewable resources and other things like that. I think some of the like higher education and some of the youth services that we've seen are all part of the sovereign wealth fund. It's about 14% of the state's budget last year. And it's this like incredible resource we've had, but don't, I think, utilize to its fullest in cases like this where foreign capital comes in to start a theater of this war in our state. And one of the things that's been suggested is New Mexico buying some sort of stake in our public power, which there are a bunch of complicated reasons why we as a state can't just outright buy it. But I think buying a stake in it,
Like being an active shareholder in our own power.
Yeah.
Okay.
And there are some people who have issues with this because they say that it does things like pits consumers against purchasers, and you kind of have this conflict of interest that like you're both selling the product and buying the product. But I don't really think that holds water.
Yeah, and friction is how you get better pricing and how you avoid monopolies.
Yeah. And for something that like is innately a monopoly, I think some of these like capitalist arguments about like competition fall apart a little, because it's not like I can get power from multiple servicers.
Yeah.
I will only ever get power from one person, and that's P&M. And there really isn't competition to be had. This isn't like a thing where profit can drive innovation. It's a thing where collective action drives innovation.
Collective action drives innovation.
Yeah. And so at the state level, if we can have a public stake in how this company is run, that will go a long way. And it will also keep Blackstone, hopefully, out of our state power.
We don't need them.
Yeah.
We don't need Blackstone here.
And I think the idea that the state would be more punitive to its citizens than Blackstone is an argument that sort of falls apart, like immediately when you think about it for 20 seconds.
Yeah, it's like, let's think about other situations where an outsider comes in and says, we know better than you. When has that worked out?
Yeah. Yeah, and this kind of corporate, I mean, I think the phrase that sticks in my mind is corporate colonialism.
Yeah, and that's exactly the comparison I wanted to make. It's like a lot of our food systems have fallen apart because we stopped taking care of the food that we knew how to take care of in the land that we were already in.
Yeah.
And by we I mean people. I'm not eternal.
Yeah. Working on it though. Yeah, if you become a sponsor of 505, we'll get the necessary technology.
Yeah, and we're working on time travel.
Yeah. You could hear this forever. So
or not if you donate today.
Yeah. So investing some of our sovereign wealth fund, which is one of the biggest in the world, into supporting the people of our state and not having our public power become this like grossly commodified, corporate, colonized institution, I think is one of the most important things we can be thinking about right now.
So kind of what I'm hearing is if we take more control over that sovereignty and that money, etc., we could potentially have power and pay our teachers more, have more programs for our kids.
Yeah.
Have more fish.
Yeah.
Okay, neat.
All of which would be cool. And we have the money to do it, and getting more involved in the sovereign wealth fund as a community, as a state, as municipalities, trying to think about how to use that wisely more and lobby the governor on things like this project are really important, because I think it's really interesting that this is something that's like almost never talked about in the activism circles I'm a part of, despite like almost everything else being talked about. Like, this came up for me like a year ago when someone was like, do you know we're one of the richest states in the union? And I was like, that can't be right.
Right, because we're told all the time we're not.
Yeah. And we really are, and we have the resources as a like people to be able to by our power to be able to support our teachers and our youth and our wildlife and our marginalized communities. We just have to make sure we prioritize that well.
Yeah, and it would be we're encouraging that activism because us choosing what we want done with our land is in general better than somebody from outside trying to make those decisions like we're not mature enough to make them ourselves.
Yeah.
When like the colonized parts of us have been here for 300 years and we were here before that.
Yeah. And I think you see this creep happening now with us because, like, our gas company was recently purchased and has become this sort of colonized space and was approved by state regulators and often flew under the radar. Like, I feel like this process flew under the radar for a lot of people, but was sort of a kind of test case for Blackstone. And I think trying to be very conscious of the fact that this is not a one battle, like, we want to have local things support local people, and one, trying to control Blackstone purchasing our utility, and two, maybe one day trying to get our gas company back,
Yeah.
and trying to think about how to use our resources wisely as a community is top of my list. A great way to get involved with any of this, if you have the time and space, if this is something that interests you, whether that's Project Jupiter or protecting our gas if possible and our public power utilities as we can, is New Energy Economy. They do a lot of wonderful work around this. If you check out their website, they have a lot of great resources, including a one-pager about all this that you can print out and have around and share with people. So shout out to New Energy Economy and all the wonderful work they do.
Excellent.
Yeah, we are getting near the end of our time here. So I just wanted to throw out for a minute, is there anything we wanted to touch on in particular before we wrap up? Anything from anyone in particular?
Subscribe to our newsletter on 505omatic.com. Be a paid subscriber. We are really trying to be a subscriber-funded organization. We are going through some fundraising aspects right now in order to get some initial investment, but our hope is that over the next couple of years that we will be totally by subscribers and by local sponsorships of businesses that we align with. So also, if you are an owner of a local business, reach out and see ways that we can help and promote one another and promote this wonderful city of Santa Fe that we live in.
Yeah, so local businesses reach out, and we do accept sponsorships, and we also individuals. And
Sponsor this live stream.
sponsor
Yeah,
this
do
live
it.
stream specifically. Like, I did bring, I have this wonderful koozie, but I did bring my own water from home. I'm gonna do my little spiel about sponsorship. We live in a capitalist society. That's why 505OMATIC is paying their reporters for their work, and we would love to pay our admin team. Your subscription means so much, as does any fiscal support you can give. Already subscribed, you can give subscriptions to your friends who want to be in the know.
Someone listened to NPR as a kid. That was very good. That had the professional NPR feel to it.
Yeah, I am in part here to bring the nostalgia.
Yeah.
That is part of it. So yeah, we really.
Your heart out, Terry Gross.
Yeah, that will be the quote that everyone knows from you. Coming for Terry Gross.
That's why I would love to be on the show.
Yeah. Terry Gross, we will stop coming for you if you put me on Fresh Air.
Oh yeah, so yeah. Book us on Fresh Air
Yeah.
or hear us talk more. I'm not sure. I don't know if I feel like I should. Am I qualified to threaten Terry Gross? I don't know.
Yeah,
We do.
We love you.
We
As
do.
someone who speaks into a microphone, you were the sound of my childhood, and that's why I'm here now.
Love it.
So I think that's our episode for the day. Thank you everyone for joining us. We deeply appreciate your time. We deeply appreciate your attention in this very distracting world. Also want to shout out Vital Spaces once again. We're here in their location on Cerrillos Road.
Come do art here.
Come do art here. Come do a podcast, live stream, whatever you want in this room we're in right now. And thank you all for the wonderful reporters at 505OMATIC. There are people putting out really wonderful stories every day. Follow on all the various things. Do you have things you'd like people specifically to follow on?
Well, check out our blog. Check out 505OMATIC. You don't have to be on Instagram to follow our stuff. You can just come and get it directly. I believe we're also on Facebook. We'd love to see your comments there. There's a lot of bots and weirdos there, so we'd love to hear more from New Mexico on Facebook in the comments if you're doing that sort of work. And yeah, 505omatic.com, like us on all of the stuff that you are on, and we're proud of you if you're not on it.
Yeah. And it's a great way to stick it to AI. Getting back to the theme of the episode. AI is a bummer. Support local journalists, support local people's work. Thank you all for tuning in. And that's the episode. See you next week.
It's been 505omatic Fridays.
Bye. Sing us out.
Our friends who let us know when stuff was weird so we could fix it.